It's fantastic to be here at the foothills of these mountains. Many decades of my life, first half of my life went looking for them. Because I had to unload my load. Now it's now I'm able to be hardly here. On one level, in one way, the spiritual process means to become like a mountain, stable, still. Because it's only when somebody has a very stable base, many things can be done. Exuberance of life is possible only if there is absolute stability. Otherwise, exuberance will lead to madness. Yes. That's why a lot of people who are a little creative, little active, little exuberant, always end up being freaky and nearly insane. Because without stability, you cannot have a dance going. This is why Shiva means stillness, Shiva means dance at the same time. Either you see him sitting absolutely still, or you see him in an explosion of dance, because an explosion is possible only when there is a stable base. An explosion which is not destructive is possible only when there is stability. And stability, people try to become stable by controlling and trimming their lives. This is the way your grandmother would tell you how to be stable. Control yourself, then you will be stable. Yes, if you're dead, you will be stable. Very. I promise you that. So normally, people who talk about stability are all constipated existence. You know what's constipation? That means it happens little by little. Their joy, their love, their ecstasy happens little by little, here and there. That's constipation. So, stability is not because you have trimmed your life down or pruned it down to minimal and you're stable. That's of no consequence. Stability because you see everything utterly clearly. That is why when we say Adiyogi, we're talking about stability, at the same time an exuberant dance. This is possible only because he has more than two eyes, not necessarily three, more than two. That means he sees much more than most people ever see. Because he sees much, much more, able to be stable. If you see only one part of it, you cannot be stable. So the entire effort is to see better. Darshan seeing, you know. The entire culture has always been talking about it. You go to temple not for sending petitions, but for darshan, to see better. Fundamentally, why people are not able to see what is there with life is simply because identifications with so many things. Starting with the body, the identifications have gone into so many things. The moment you identify with something, your entire mind understands that it needs to be protected and just works for that. So how do I break my national identity, my religious identity, my racial identity? You don't have to go like this. If you break your identification with your own body, it's gone. Everything is gone because everything is rooted in that. Everything is just an amplification of your identification with the limited boundaries of your own body. The moment you get identified with this, rest of the identification is only multiplication. And it multiplies pretty rapidly. The more successful you are with whatever you're doing, you will multiply much faster. And you will be able to see less and less as your identities grow. The drama, the psychological drama raises in crescendo, won't allow you to see anything. Your own thoughts and emotions will drown you. Unfortunately, the world has been constantly pushing people to believe that what's happening in your mind is very important. I've been trying to convince the world what's happening in your mind is just trash. No, Sadhguru, I'm thinking about God, that is also trash. Maybe a bit holy trash, but still trash. Because in your mind, God cannot come, devil cannot come, angels cannot come, only thoughts come. It's a fool who identifies one thought as sacred, another thought as something else. Thought means something that's not real right now. Thought means old garbage is festering in your mind. You need to think to survive about this and that. But you don't need to think to explore something new. You don't need to think to become enlightened. Because what will you think? You will only think the past data which is in your head, in many different ways maybe. How many varieties of expressions your rubbish finds is of no value to life. Maybe socially there is some value. In some places when I go internationally, people are saying, he's a thought leader. I say, oh. No thought in my head. So seeing clearly, seeing everything, that your vision is not obstructed by yourself. If this one thing happens, stability will happen. Exuberance, you don't have to worry because that's the nature of life itself. Everything is exuberant. Stability it takes to allow exuberance to happen. Otherwise, you keep curtailing your exuberance because it hurts when it's out of balance. If you're out of balance and you move at a certain speed, you're going to hurt yourself. Whether you're riding a bicycle or you're riding the cosmos, if you're out of balance and you attain speed, you're going to hurt yourself very badly. So balance is very important, and balance that comes out of curtailment is not balance, that's, packaged death. Yes, you package death in a certain way and it looks very decent and dignified because dead are always very dignified. Have you seen this? They never did anything indecent, did they? So essentially, everything is rooted in the clarity of vision, and that'll not come unless there's some distance between what is me and what is my body. If this distance is not there, then multiplication of identities will just… it's an inevitable consequence. Vision. If you pay attention to these mountains, you should go crazy every day. Though I carried it for my entire lifetime, still I go crazy looking at it. Either you're not seeing it, or you're looking at it and not seeing it. Once Shankaran Pillai came to Isha Yoga Center and said he wants to stay in a room which has the spectacular view. So after thinking, the reception put him in the Chitra block. Next day morning, he woke up and he complained, "I asked for a room with a view. Why did you put me here?" Just tried to explain, this is the room with the best view. He said, "Where is the damn view? The mountain is in the way." Mountain never gets in the way, it's just you. To look beyond yourself, that's all there is.
This is a land which clearly understood God is our making. That's the reason why in this culture God is not the goal. Mukti is the goal, liberation is the goal, ultimate freedom is the goal. God is never the goal. Yes or no? You don't like it, because you've forgotten. Otherwise, mukti is the goal, isn't it? Mukti means what? Liberation, freedom from everything, including God. You are using God as a stepping stone if you need it. You can grow with God or without God. This is the only culture on the planet where in any of our Indian languages, there is no word for a heretic. Because we never thought anybody is a heretic. We never imagined that there can be somebody like that, because we did not have any established belief system. Everybody can do their own thing. Most plural and democratic process for thousands of years. So, the spiritual movements were started for human liberation. This is not about God, it's about you. So when it's about you, we were straightforward enough to address it straight. We said, this is about our liberation, this is about our well-being, this is about our ultimate well-being, not just immediate well-being. So this is a culture which looked at it this way. So it is a complex array of spiritual movements. Many have died, unfortunately. In the yogic system it says, when somebody asks Adi Yogi, how many paths can be there? He says, if you use your system and go, there are only 112. But if you go beyond your system, how many atoms are there in the universe? That many doorways are there. So we gave the freedom to create your own God. There is something called as Ishta Devata. You can choose your God. If you don't like any, you can create one.
One thing is, it's good for the nation's population. I'm just listing the benefits. Why Brahmacharya? What is Brahmacharya first? Brahman means
the ultimate or the divine. Charya means the path. One who is on the path of the ultimate or one who is on the path of the divine is a brahmachari. One who is on the path of the divine means see, after all, everybody is in search of joyfulness, isn't it? Knowingly or unknowingly. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Because you could not find joy, you settled for pleasure. Pleasure is not joy. Pleasure is just a shadow of joy. It's beautiful, but it's very limited. Whenever you involve yourself in pleasure, if you want to have pleasure, you need something or somebody to have pleasure, isn't it? Yes? The deeper you go into pleasure, the deeper your bondage with this something or somebody. Yes? Suppose this something or somebody is taken away from you, you will be broken. Isn't it so? If you have a very deep involvement with pleasure, that something or somebody which gives you pleasure, if it's taken away from you, aren't you broken? So, your existence becomes that of huge bondage. Bondage is not something that any human being enjoys. There is something within you which is always wanting to be free from all bondage, isn't it? But if you become a pleasure seeker, naturally you're setting up limitations in such a pleasant way that you cannot transcend it. Unpleasant limitations, you can break them. Pleasant limitations, you cannot break them, isn't it? Lot of your shackles, you have gold-plated them and you're wearing them like ornaments, aren't you?
Yes.
Your limitations, you're celebrating your limitations. Once you start celebrating your limitations, then there is no way to become free of that. So brahmacharya means you are on the path of the divine. That means, first step towards that is you are joyful by your own nature. Whenever you are very happy, you are joyful, have you noticed you don't seem to need anything? Yes? On a particular day you're very happy. If you don't eat, if you don't sleep, it doesn't matter. Is that so? You're unhappy, then everything has to be perfect, you complain about everything in the world. Isn't it so? When you're really joyful, just see, it sets you free. When you're unhappy, everything is important, everything has to be in a particular way. For everything you will complain. Unhappy people are always complaining. Happy people are always easy to work with, easy to be with, because nothing matters when you're happy. Everything is flexible. Which is freedom? Joy is freedom or pleasure is freedom? Joy is obviously freedom, isn't it? So, you're seeing how to become joyful. If you seek it outside, you will invariably end up becoming a pleasure seeker. Anyway, the source of joy is within you. Whenever you were happy, did happiness happen from within you or did it rain upon you from outside? Always within you, isn't it? So if the source of happiness is within you, searching for it outside is quite a stupid thing. Yes? It is just that the source of happiness is within you, you are using an external stimulus to bring forth the joy in you. Or in other words, your joy is on push start. Shall we fix self-start on it? Don't want? If you put self-start on your joy, then you're a brahmachari. Now, you're on the path of the divine. You're joyful by your own nature. Have all the brahmacharis here become like that? Maybe not, but that's the intention. They're working towards that. To work towards that, you need a certain space and time of your own, that you don't have other things to handle in your life. So, they have chosen a certain way of life. Now, yesterday we went up the mountain, just carrying your own body weight and reaching there, many of you, your legs are trembling, isn't it? Suppose you want to carry 4 people on your shoulders and walk up the mountain, how many of you would make it? Most of you would not make it, isn't it? So that's why brahmacharya. You understand? You are planning to climb a big peak. If you had the strength to carry 10 people on your shoulders and walk, that would be fantastic. But we rarely find such people. It's better to walk alone. So they walk alone. Now, your problem is that by the time you became 14, your intelligence got hijacked by your hormones so much, you can't understand or you cannot accept how somebody can be free from it. Somebody can just sit here and be happy, they don't have to get married, they don't have to run behind the opposite sex, they don't have to do this or that. They're just happy doing simple things in their life, more joyful than you, more intense than you. So does it mean all of you should become a brahmachari? No, all of you should become a brahmachari internally. In terms of lifestyle, not necessarily. Brahmacharya does not mean just celibacy, okay? That is just one of the aspects that have been taken up as a supportive system to become a brahmachari. Brahmacharya means you are walking the path of the divine, that you are ecstatic by your own nature. You can be married and still be a brahmachari. It is possible. Because you are joyful by your own nature, you are not trying to extract joy from your husband or wife. You are joyful by your own nature. This is how it should be. The whole world should be brahmachari, isn't it? Everybody should be joyful by their own nature. If two people come together, it should be more a sharing of joy, not extracting joy from each other, isn't it? So those who have decided that they don't want to extract anything from anybody, they want to source their own inner joy, they have taken brahmacharya. And why a certain order has been set up? They have been taken up not just for their realization. If it's just their realization, we can take care of in so many ways. How many of you eaten mangoes? You eaten mangoes? You ate mangoes? No? How many of you have planted mango trees? See, just 10 people have planted mango trees, but everybody has eaten mangoes. It's only because constantly in every generation, those 10 people are planting mango trees, everybody else is eating, isn't it? So, to carry on the spiritual path in its integrity, brahmacharis are needed. Brahmacharis means we are keeping them in such a way that their energies are loose, malleable, we can make anything out of them. Just anything out of them. I can combine 10 brahmacharis into one and make 10 brahmacharis into one huge human being, a huge force. We have kept their energies loose, no personality. Whichever way you bend, they will become that way. See, if we take analogies, you are like a pot, you are a karmic pot. A certain karmas, certain influences have molded you into a certain shape, yes? Now you become a certain type of person. With the process of living, when you were a child it was little more malleable, when you were a youth it got little rigid, by the time you're a full adult it's totally rigid. This is just… we can see the pot is slowly being burnt with the process of life. Now by the time you're reasonably old, it is totally rigid shape. If you do anything else with it, it'll break. See, now there's a burnt pot here. If you try to change the shape of this pot, it'll only break into pieces, isn't it? But when it was unburnt, very easily you could mold it into anything. You made 10 unburnt pots. Tomorrow if you don't like it, you can put all of them together and make one big pot, isn't it? Now, we are unburning people. We are unburning them into that state where they're very malleable. We can give them any shape, any form. So brahmacharis are working towards that. It's a huge sadhana. It is not just… like other systems in the world are doing this, just they take a vow of celibacy. This is not like that. There is a whole system of what they're doing with their energies. There is a whole lot of work that's being done internally. This is just a small part of it. What you see as they being unmarried is just a small part of it. The rest of it is very internal. And people who are willing to dedicate themselves for others' well-being are needed in the society. At any time, if there is nobody in the society who is thinking about others' well-being, that society is heading for ruin, definitely. That's what has happened to this society right now. There are very few people thinking of everybody's well-being. Others are all, what about me, what about me, what about me? If a certain percentage of people are thinking beyond their own well-being, only then a society will remain sane and stable. Otherwise, societies will just go for ruin. Is it not important? There are few people who are not thinking about their own well-being, their own life, they're seeing how to make it happen for somebody else. So brahmacharis are an investment for future, to keep spirituality in its pristine purity and to transmit it from generation to generation. A small core group of people are needed. Everybody need not take that thing, nor will we take everybody. Every year, hundreds of applications for brahmacharya comes. We just choose 8–10 people out of that, looking at various qualities and various possibilities. We don't take everybody who comes, because it's not necessary, nor can they be like that, nor can they put in the sadhana that is required or demanded out of them. Your personality has to become malleable and conscious, that you can mold yourself into any kind of pot. Is it not good to have that freedom? Yes. That's brahmacharya.
We have all gotten committed to individual identities and prejudices, that life happens as one big whole. When we are buried, we all become part of the land. Same soil, isn't it?
Does that explain the fears from the other ideology, ideas, thoughts, the anxiety and stress from the future and the is now a prominent feature of a human being in 21st century? How did big part of people nowadays get trapped in this vicious circle of frustration, misery and collective rage?
See, if you look at it, what happens within a human being is entirely caused by him or her, within themselves. Your joy and misery happens within you. Pain and pleasure happens within you. Right now, actually, even what is light and darkness happens only within you. Because what is light for you is darkness for some other creature. This is all the way it is happening within us, or in other words, the very basis of your experience is within you. When the very basis of experience is within you, should you not determine what is the nature of your experience? If you did determine what is the nature of your experience, would you make it pleasant or unpleasant for yourself? Definitely pleasant. If there is a choice right now within you, either to be blissful or stressful or miserable, what's your choice? Definitely to be blissful. So this ability to exercise this choice is something that we have not spread across in the society. We have not brought this into our children's lives. We have not made this a part of our education, that the most important thing for a human being is that you are a wonderful human being. If you are a wonderful human being, when you are feeling wonderful within yourself, you naturally do wonderful things to everybody. When you are feeling horrible within yourself, you will do horrible things to other people. And every human being can notice this. When they're happy, if you meet them, they are wonderful people. If you meet them when they're miserable, angry, frustrated, whatever else, they can be nasty human beings. So this dimension of life has been neglected in our eagerness to develop our economies, to exploit the world, do whatever. We are busy fixing the world. Yes, world needs to be fixed to some extent. But we think by fixing the world, everything will be all right. No, we also need to fix this human being. Fixing this human being means we have all gotten committed to individual identities and prejudices.
From the simple aspect of gender, we are the same species, but gender has become like two different species. Nations, ideologies, race, religion, all kinds of things have divided and fractured humanity in so many different ways. It is time that we instill this in our children and the future generations, that life happens as one big whole. But it is the magnanimity of the creation that it gives us an individual experience, but actually it's happening as one whole. Either we understand this now, or we will anyway get it when we are buried. When we are buried, we all become part of the land. Same soil, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you encourage men and women to offer themselves for public service in conjunction with whatever it is that they do in discharging their duties to their family and to their general community? And would you encourage people to stand for office if they think that they can make a contribution wherever they happen to be?
Now, Howard, that's your name? Howard Dean? No?
That's not a bad comparison.
What's your second name? Whatever. So, could I become the councilman, or could I become the president, or could I become something, policeman, or could I become something else? See, whether it's the presidency, or the councilman, or the policeman, or the postman, these are all different activities which are necessary to conduct our situation, human situation, isn't it? Necessary, isn't it? So especially if a person is in some way spiritually inclined, that he's brought some awareness into him, some sense into him, isn't it very good that situations, important situations in the world are conducted by people who are more aware than compulsive? So, should we? Yes, if we have the capability, if we have the wherewithal to fulfill that kind of a thing, yes, why not?
If you choose to pursue the path of self-development or to gain your potential through this path, then that can take a lifetime. I want to find out what is the balance between trying to pursue my development versus doing something and finding that balance. I mean, how do I go about figuring that out for me? Was that clear?
No. Yes, yes.
Okay. I don't.
Now, when you talk about self-development, we are not talking about self-development here. Self cannot be developed. What you're referring to as self cannot be developed. It is not something that you can develop or you can put it down or anything. It's just that it's been lost. You've lost contact with it. So getting in touch with it, in case it takes a lifetime, in case, not necessarily in case it takes a lifetime, how much time do I give for that and how much time to do other things? What are the other things you do? Okay. So the other things that you do in your life, will I have enough time for it? You shouldn't do any other thing. You understand? Everything
Everything that you do should be towards enhancing your own nature. Now, you're doing family, you're doing work, all these things you're doing, everything can be used as a spiritual process. It is not that in 24 hours' time, this many hours spirituality, this many hours materialism, this many hours family, not like that. Every step, every breath, every moment of your existence can be used for your development of who you are. So, this is full time. And in that, what activity you wish to do, you do whatever you want. What is the problem? Because what we are talking about is of inner nature. What the other things you're talking about, external, isn't it? So whatever you're doing, you're using everything as a process of growth. Everything. So, this does not mean doing yoga, does not mean morning yoga, evening yoga, rest of the time you do stupid things, no. It's 24 hours yoga, only yoga, nothing else but yoga. Whatever you do, you make it into your yoga. Every single act in your life, you make it into your process of growth. Only then it'll work. Part-time spirituality doesn't work. Now, will this take me away from this or that? Not necessarily, not at all, because millions of people who have done the program are all people who are involved in variety of activity. Just a handful of people are full-time into it, because some people need to do it full-time. Yes? Suppose I also pursued some other profession and, only in my vacation I thought inner engineering, you wouldn't be here today, isn't it? Yes? So few people take it up full-time because they see that's their choice, they want to do that. And when you can go to the office and do software programming or management or something, why can't you also go out and teach something? It's not that you have to take it up. I'm saying for an individual person, what is the problem? Somebody chooses that. So, only thing is, only criteria that may be disturbing people is, they're not making money. No, I'll come. So that's not going to disturb you, then no problem. You're doing what you want to do. You either choose to go to this job or that job or that job, isn't it? So, with Isha Yoga, if you come, instead of working 5 days a week, you'll end up working 7 days a week. That's the great change that you'll have, because you experience your whole life as a vacation. You learn to experience your work as vacation, then you're always on vacation. So, will this take me away from something? This doesn't take you away from anything, it enhances your life. But if you choose to get you… after some time you will retire from your job, isn't it? When you retire, it's a question of your choice, isn't it so? Somebody goes out fishing, somebody goes out meditating, somebody goes out dancing, somebody goes out drinking. It's individual choices they're making, isn't it? Right now, unfortunately, people like you, yes, who are… see, because most of you, I'm telling you, you're only first or second generation of educated people in your this thing. So you're just thrilled about a few things that you have access to. If you are 10th, 15th generation of educated people in your family, you would have total disdain for education, doing well and all this nonsense, yes? Because you're only first, second generation of having access, you think that's everything. But your children won't think so, you will see this. Your children won't think so because right from their childhood they've seen all this nonsense and it doesn't mean much to them when they grow up. Yes. So, what you choose is just individual choice, isn't it? Does doing this necessarily mean taking you away? Not at all. People always ask me, Sadhguru, what is the mission? So I jokingly tell them, my mission is to plant undercover yogis. So today I can very proudly say, I have planted many people who are in peak of yogic experience, but they're managing banks, they're managing corporations, they're housewives, they're all undercover yogis. Understand? They're not dressed like yogis, they don't look like yogis, but they are all… experientially they are very much yogis, but undercover. So, you want to be undercover yogi or overt? Undercover, okay, that's fine. That's my mission too.
See, when somebody else calls you a fool, it's an insult. When you realize you're a fool, that means you become smart enough to know that. So I did not call you a fool, I only agreed with you. This happened to me also. Before all this happened, I was very smart. Very, very smart. So I thought, and so everybody around me also supported it. I definitely thought so. All others around me also supported this. He's very smart. And the activity that I was performing at that time and the results that it produced also proved that I was very smart. But one day, I went up a small hill and I realized I was an utter fool. Since then, everything has been fantastic. Yes. So be a fool, it's a damn good thing. If you're a damn fool, it's a damn good thing. But don't tell anybody like this. Because socially you still have to live. You don't go about telling everybody, I'm a fool. It's all right. You know you're a fool, everybody thinks you're smart, that's a good thing. But you tell everybody you're a fool, that's not a good thing. So, there are different ways to look at this. If something bigger than yourself happens to you, something way bigger than yourself happens to you, then naturally you feel like a damn fool. Nothing happened to you, you are the biggest thing in the universe. You think you're smart, but you are a bloody fool. That's a big difference. We can even say this in other terms, but let me not go there. I want you to understand that there are no too many problems with you. Hello? You think you're complicated because you like to be complicated. Because if you're simple, you feel like a fool. Yes? So you're complicating yourself just to avoid seeing that you're a bloody fool. Your problem is not very existential, it's more maintenance. Certain things are not opening up. This happened. Shankaran Pillai checked into a hotel along with his wife. At 11:30 in the night, he called the reception and he said, "My wife is threatening to jump out of the window from the 5th floor. The reception said, "Sir, this is a personal matter. I cannot intervene in this. And above all, I'm the only night staff who is here. So you need to deal with it yourself. This is a personal matter. Except for me and one maintenance staff, there is nobody in the hotel, we cannot assist you in any way. You need to deal with it yourself, it is your personal stuff." Shankaran Pillai roared, "You idiot! You think I will ask you to come and handle my personal matters? I am talking about a maintenance issue only. The damn window is not opening." So, your problem is just that, the window is not opening. There's no other problem, just maintenance issues. Because you think you're too smart, it's too stuffed up. If you feel like an empty fool, it'll open up. So, have you experienced God? You're asking this question so easily. When you say God, I want you to understand this. When you say God, you are not talking about somebody or something. When you say God, you are talking about the source of your own creation, isn't it? Isn't it so? When you say God, you're talking about the source of your creation, from what you have come. What is the source of my being? That's what you're asking. So you're asking me, have you experienced the source of my being or your being? Because it cannot be different. Right now, your being and my being may be very different, but the source of this cannot be different. So when you ask, have you experienced this? You are asking, have I experienced the source of your existence? Isn't it? So, the depth of the question has not still tormented you, still on the surface. Curiosity, it's okay, anyway we'll look at it. To ask, what is the source of my creation means, that means I'm existing here without knowing the fundamentals of who I am, isn't it? That's what it means. Living here without knowing the fundamentals of who I am, if you understand the implications of it, it's not a small thing, it'll tear you. Probably we touched this yesterday. The pain of ignorance, the pain of not knowing has to tear you apart. Then only the question becomes truly relevant. Where is God, tell me? How is God, tell me? This is not a question. This is a social debate that is going on. A question means, a question should come from not knowing, wanting to go to knowing, isn't it? That's what a real question is, isn't it so? A genuine question means, it is wanting to move from not knowing to knowing. That's what? A question is a device to move from not knowing to knowing. If one does not know the fundamentals of who he is, that is not a simple problem. That is a very, very deep problem, isn't it? Most basic, most fundamental and ultimate. Because whatever you do in your life, if you do not know the very basis of who you are, it's just utter nonsense, the whole life, isn't it? Isn't it so? If one does not know the very fundamentals of who he is, that means you're declaring, when you ask, where is God? What is God? Did you experience God? Did you know God? When you ask these questions, you are telling to yourself
that my life is utter nonsense, A to Z. Everything in my life is utter nonsense. Maybe the impact of that realization has not sunk into you yet. It should. You must know the pain of not knowing. Then you cannot be here without knowing. You have to know. Once such a situation comes, such a burning comes within you that you cannot sleep one day without knowing, it's not far away because what you're trying to know is within you. If you burn with the longing to know, what you want to know is sitting up in the heaven, that would be a difficulty. If you burn wanting to know, if wanting to know burns you, it is immediate because it's right here. Anyway, let's start from your beliefs and whatever you believe in, whatever your understanding is, from that. Because we can only go from where you are. They have always told you, God is everywhere. Is that so? Or even if they have not told you, whichever religion, whichever culture, they have told you this. But even if they have not told you, from your own intelligence, if you look at it, you can see if there is something called God, it has to be everywhere. Yes? If I can lock him up in my temple and come, he's no good to you. Isn't it so? So if there is something called as God, it's got to be everywhere. If it's everywhere, it needs to be here also, there also, there also, there also.
Everything that occurs to us, when I say everything that occurs to you, there's only one thing that occurs to you, which is sensation. Nothing else has ever occurred to you, please see. Rest of it you just made up in your mind. Hello?
Yes.
The only thing that really occurred to you as experience is sensation of cold, heat, pleasantness, unpleasantness, pleasure, pain, all kinds of things. The only thing that ever happened to you is sensation. If this sensation or this basis of all our experience has to become a profound possibility, you must listen to the raga, the tune set by the existence. It's not our making, it's not in our hands, it's happening. Isn't it great that you don't have to worry about the tune? Huh?
Yeah.
One of the greatest worries of every musician is the tune, always he's going off. To stay on the tune, it takes years and years of practice. But here the tune is set, we don't have to bother. Tune is perfect. Sensation is already given to us. Only thing we have to find is a rhythm. If you find the rhythm, then every experience becomes a profound experience. If you don't find the rhythm, every experience can become a miserable experience. I'm telling you because tomorrow we're going to Kailash. And today you've been in Manasarovar. Every experience can become a miserable experience or a profound experience depending on whether you found the rhythm or not. The other two things, one is fully set, nothing to do. Another is available. Third one is all you have to do, Bharata. So the entire culture focused on this. People thought they were nuts because they spent so much time closing their eyes. People thought they're stupid people. Why don't you enjoy the world? If you want to enjoy the world, you must have profoundness of sensation, isn't it?
Yes.
Otherwise, how will you enjoy the world? Everything on the surface. If you sit here, if this sunlight can penetrate to the core of who you are, it'll become a very profound experience. Because you don't get it at normal temperatures, That's why I little bit of dunking. You see, it went deeper than normal shower, isn't it? Because this is all a human being can do, that use the faculty of sensation that we have and allow it to go to the very core of who we are. This is all you can do. This can happen with a touch, this can happen with sunlight, this can happen with water, this can happen with food and drink. This can simply happen without anything, because without anything in particular, because there is no time when there is no sensation. In wakefulness and sleep, there is sensation. The question is only, are you available? That's the only thing. So when we say Shiva, we say he's a dancer, that means he found his rhythm. Because he's found his rhythm, he's become the most profound being that you can think of. Finding the rhythm. Tak tai 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 tak tai tai, you know. Not like that. With every step that you take, you have known this in your own life. When you find rhythm in the step, suddenly it's such a joy to walk, even if everything is hurting, it doesn't matter, isn't it?
Yes.
When you don't find the rhythm, suddenly it's such a clumsy, painful thing and it's useless and you wonder, why did I come? Yes or no?
Yes.
It's happening. The moment you find the rhythm, anything that you're doing, from a simple walking step to just anything that you're doing, suddenly has a different dimension to it. This is why always Shiva represented as a dancer. That means he's found his rhythm. So all you have to do in your life is to find that rhythm. The tune is already set, nobody can do anything about it. That's the compassion of the existence. If we had to set the tune to all this, what a misery it would have been. Fortunately, it's all managed. You just have to find the rhythm.